Hello and welcome. Welcome, Henry.
Hello.
Nice of you to come on and join us today. In the engine room today, we've got Sam with us as well.
All right, guys.
How you both doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to see what we come up with.
Yeah, I'm excited too, mate. So, you reached out after you came across the Sober Sessions, didn't you, on Facebook? And you're doing your own bit of sober night out over in Hull, aren't you?
Yeah, so, I mean, I saw what you were doing, and to be honest, only being just over the bridge, I thought, I'm a massive fan of music, live music especially, and to try and sort of combine the two, if that be around sobriety and gigs. And I've been to gigs since being sober, and I won't lie, the more people are queuing up at the bar, not even watching the band, all the focus on is the next pint, and you're missing your favourite song, and I've done that before myself, and it'd be lovely to combine the two and actually not focus on the booze and just focus on the music, on the artist, if that be someone local who's trying to sort of make it or whatever. And so I just loved, the whole concept, and it's something I really generally wanted to talk about and be a part of, really.
Well, I'm biased, but I think it's working. Put me wrong if it's not.
Well, if Dave convinced me it was going to work, I've said this last time. I still think like a drinker.
Yeah.
And I kind of think, is that gonna work? Even though I've not drunk for so long, and it's working. Like, I came down the other day, and it's good because you can just sort of clear off after a bit, can't you? And you do, like you say, you can focus on the music.
I think that's it. And you've got people who are pouring their heart and soul into this music, really. And I can't imagine if I was an artist and all I could see was people queuing up at the bar when I was about to, play my best song or something, and no one was fully focusing. I can imagine it can be quite disheartening, really.
Well, as a musician myself, it's offering something different for the artist, because it is music-centric here, isn't it? It's like we are pushing the sober thing, but it's not really mentioned on the night. It's just alcohol's not missed at all. We're not celebrating that alcohol's not here. It's just not missed. It bears no place. Does it?
A lot of it's just normalising it. It should be a normal thing to do. Just not drinking should be a normal thing to do.
Yeah, without having to label it, I guess, because it's a bit like, I guess I've got it in two ways, and of course I'm going to bring it up because, well, I'm a vegan, in case I haven't mentioned it already. But basically, being a sober vegan, the mad thing is you've got it both ways, because you sort of, you're mentioning like not. I had a point there. Sorry, I was going to go with it. So carry on. Sorry.
Well, let's take it back to the beginning, Henry. So. Yeah. Who are you? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Tell us a bit about your childhood.
So, my name's Henry. I'm from across the bridge in Hull. So I grew up basically I was working in my family business in a estate agency for 17 years. And I sort of fell into it. So I started there as a Saturday assistant, and then I basically didn't finish my sixth form, and my dad being the owner of the business, he was like, well, I'm not giving you a job straight away. So I ended up having to do door knocking, charity work, whatever, anything to just sort of get the money in. And then a space eventually opened up. So it was because I wanted to ideally get into sort of drama school or something like that. That was my passion, but the grades obviously didn't go the way. So going into the family business and seeing my dad do it, my older brothers do it, I kind of felt like that was just the path that I was meant to go on. So, and then fast forward 17 years, I just realised it wasn't, we've got one life, you know what I mean? And I got myself into a bad relationship with my food. I'd ballooned over, I was over 18 stone, and that's when I built up the courage to actually step on the scale. So God knows what I was at my heaviest. And I was, living for the weekend, just boozing away, etc. So it's, I knew in order to make a difference to my life, I had to leave, and I never quite knew what the problem was. And I loved my time at the job and working with my family. It did obviously come with its perks, but knowing that, I tried all these faddy diets, I tried all these lifestyle changes because I was never happy with my weight, I was never happy with my lifestyle, and and I couldn't quite figure out what was the problem. And then I realised it was my purpose. My purpose was not to be in the family business. So having left there, cut the booze, made better changes, then that's obviously led me to this sober life, and now, well, getting on to coaching sobriety and, trying to create a community around sobriety as well.
So was there a specific moment, when you was at your peak of sort of food addiction, alcohol addiction, was there a specific moment that made you think, fuck, I need to change something?
Yeah, it was, someone asked me this a few weeks ago, and to be honest, I didn't really know the answer until I had to really think about it. But basically what happened was, because I was so heavy around the neck, because, I was carrying so much weight, I used to snore a lot. And when you're drinking as well, that dehydrates you when you're smoking, etc. So it was causing problems between me and my wife. I was keeping her up. She was having to go sleeping.
Having sleep apnea.
So basically, that's it. I went for a test. My dad has sleep apnea, and it was like, go for a test. It's quite dangerous. So I was like, all right. So, and because it was becoming quite urgent, I actually went private, sat in front of this guy, and thankfully he was really frank with me, and he just said to me, he went, you ain't got sleep apnea, mate. And I was like, right. Well, I was like, this is pretty quick. Do I get my money back? But basically he said, you need to lose weight. He was like, you're not, because he did a test on me or whatever. He said, you're not nasal, it's around your neck. And he was like, you're carrying all this weight. And he explained it to me. He just said, look, you need to lose weight around here. I can tell you to wear a mouth guard. You can go and buy this. You can go and do that. He went, but lose the weight and trust me, you'll see a difference. So anyway, as you can imagine, I went and bought a mouth guard, hoping that would do the trick. I didn't act on it straight away just because it sounded too difficult. So again, doing the mouth guard, trying my best buying, sprays or whatever. I tried all the gimmicks, and then it realized I just had to think to myself, I'm running the risk of my marriage falling apart here. I can't have my wife. It was going to the point where she was so sleep deprived that it was sending her a bit mad. And I didn't want to be the problem in this relationship. So that, when I actually boil it down to why I did it, that was the why. It was, to save the marriage. And we'd only been married for a few months by this point. And I was so embarrassed to think, okay, well, she's married into this. And is this the way she sees the rest of her life going as well? So, yeah, I would say that was the main reason.
I'd like to ask you the same question, Sam. Was there a catalyst?
Ooh. Come on, Dave.
No. Was there a specific moment, or was it just, did it come to a head?
Well, I don't believe in rock bottoms, because someone said to me once, rock bottom is when you're 6 foot under. And, I had plenty of times where I could have got off the merry-go-round, let's put it that way. And moments of anguish, I'd say, where there's a gap where you're desperate. And I'd sort of dust myself off, pick myself back up again, get back on the saddle and go again. So it was I never really could make that choice. When I stopped was in Liverpool. This was in regards to alcohol. Alcohol was the thing that I was left with. And I relate to the food and everything, I still do. Do you know what I mean? I'd see it as an emptiness, and I've feel it with something, and I obsess. And I'm all or nothing. I find middle ground quite difficult. But the alcohol really got me. And they say, there's a saying that recovery or religion is for people that are afraid to go to hell, and recovery is for people that have been there. And I can only explain, for about 2 weeks, I was dying. I was actually dying, and I could feel myself dying. And I tried to drink. I'd gone to the last stage of alcoholism, which was morbid alcoholism. So I wanted to die, So it was touch and go. And then, but I kind of saw my life flash in front of me. There's alcoholism in our family, and one of my uncles in particular. And I kind of saw. I felt like I'd crossed the line way before, but I was going to another level, and I felt like I went to another level of madness. And we called it the gift of desperation. In recovery, it's called the gift of desperation because I can't explain what it was, but I see it like a deep-rooted sort of survival thing. Went, no, And I was isolated. I was on my own. And then I reached out for help, and finally surrendered and put my hands up and said, I need help. I can't, the way I'm doing it isn't working. Because even when I was drinking myself to death, leading up to that, I still thought I was doing the right thing. I still, in my head, thought I was doing the right thing. So, yeah, it was...
Some bad circuitry.
There was a lot of stuff going on. But like you said, you have to weigh things up. My family were getting support for my drinking. They were accessing support. So they knew that they had to leave me to it. So then on the scales, I was like, there's my family there now. And apart from the fact that I was losing my character, I was unpredictable. I was psychotic, all those things. And you sort of get to a point where you just weigh it up and you go, is it worth it? I can remember my last drink.
Can you actually?
I can remember my last drink, and I can remember looking. I remember having a drink there, and the glass. I'd been using the same glass over and over again, and it was all It didn't look very. It wasn't very nice, and it was just. I remember someone saying to me, "You can't be an alcoholic if you drink lager," and all them sort of myths that you hear. But I'd just drink anything. It didn't matter what it was, as long as it had that thing in it that I wanted. And I was just drinking lager, I think. And I remember having that much left. It was like a tiny little bit. And I remember having the realisation and going, it's this. And I'd lost everything else. I felt like I'd lost everything else. Couldn't think parts of me, my character, my personality, not just, physical things and the respect of my family and my friends. I'd lost all that as well. And just saw this and I thought, it's that, right? It's that. And I drank it. And I drank it and it was that much and I was back on autopilot again. I was back on autopilot and I had another drink. And then once I'd had that drink, I made a decision to stop and I reached out. My cousin was a recovering alcoholic. He'd had liver failure and he stopped drinking 7 years prior. I was in Liverpool because my thing was always to run away. I'd run away and end up in Liverpool. I don't know why. It was avoidance. He come and got me. Detox me. I didn't even know what detox was. I knew that I was still shaking after about a week.
I think detox, we all thought it was something celebrities did or something, didn't we?
Yeah, I was I know now that I was going through withdrawal every week. I was going through withdrawal, because I never give myself a chance to go through withdrawal, really. But that last point, I did still, for a long time, my central nervous system was in a real bad way.
Would you say physically you've made a full recovery? Do you feel like you'd stopped?
No, there's still damage. There's still damage, yeah. Damage to my stomach. I've got some nerve damage in my feet, which is like a form of peripheral neuropathy. I'd had no idea of. My pancreas. I had problems with my pancreas. I'd double up in the middle of the night like that. Really bad pain. It was like someone's putting their fist inside you and squeezing. I've got ongoing problems with my stomach, and I do think that it's linked to the lifestyle and the drinking. So much better. When I stopped drinking, I did get physically better, but then other things take over. I stopped smoking, started eating food. I've got a real problem with food. I still have. That's my last demon.
I would say most people I speak to about it, they say they go from quitting the alcohol and then it's the sugar cravings.
Yeah.
And it's like one vice for another vice, isn't it, really? Or at least for some people anyway. Luckily for me, I guess, having quit the booze, I was on I went on a strict diet, and then my wife decided she wanted to go vegan and I joined her. So therefore, I was quite restrictive. So although I had those cravings, although being vegan as well, vegan chocolate's a bit naff. So you know what I mean? So it kind of took the want away from it. And so I had that sort of goal, and then luckily carried on. But so I'm a bit worried, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah, I do believe that you've got I've heard it's called once a fear of emptiness, which is quite a good way of explaining it. And you will fill that void, that emptiness with something, but that doesn't have to be substances. It doesn't have to be food. It can
just got to be something more meaningful, hasn't it?
Yeah, it can be music.
Yeah, something fulfilling.
Creativity. It can be connection. And one of the things is really important to me is connection with other people that have been through similar things. Like that really is massively important to me and my life now.
Well, look at what you're creating. You know what I mean? It's clear that that's very important to you, and fair play for
Oh, this is all just distractions to stop me going back to old behaviour.
Really?
Yeah. I do believe that. I believe I've just
it's just gotten out of hand, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got out of hand.
It's just gone out of control.
Very expensive.
Well, I don't do things like I said. I can't do middle ground. I have to. The obsession doesn't go away. Like you just got to channel it in the right way. And after all these years of recovery, I'm still flawed. I still make mistakes. There's things that I thought I'd get better at, and I still haven't. But I do know it's very simple. All the things that I learned, that's why I like speaking to people that have just come into it, and because they say things, and I think, oh yeah, and it reminds me of where I was at. And I know now. I've gone round in a circle because after a while I thought, oh yeah, I knew it all. I'd read all the books and all that, and then I realised I knew nothing. And I say this a lot when I'm the most confident, not confident, but it's saying when I get a bit cocky or I've got a spring in my step, that's where I'm vulnerable. So I have to ground myself all the time and not get carried away. But I realised that going after all these years, that all the simple stuff I learned at the beginning was all I ever needed to know. That's all I ever needed.
Still
to know.
Overcomplicated. Yeah. I think that's.
No.
I mean, that's one thing. When it comes to my coaching, I'm very at the early stages of it, and it's just something like having gone down the road of okay, that's a family business, to then leaving that and then taking some time out to sort of, I guess, work on myself, which I'm very glad I did. Now I thought, okay, well, I want to give back, but then at the same time, you need to make a living. So it was like, how can I do what I'm passionate about, but also make money? But one thing I don't want to do is overcomplicate it, because I just think of someone like me. What would I want to hear, and how would I want it to digest it? And if someone was giving me all these stats, these figures, etc., I'd be like, too much. Just simplify it for me. Make it attainable. Make it some achievable, I guess. And I think that's why, hopefully, if someone can see the route that I've gone down and gone, okay, well, just a standard bloke who didn't necessarily. I would never say I had a problem as such. It's defining that problem. Yes, okay, I was a binge drinker on the weekend. I didn't drink during the week, but I would live for the weekend, and that would then go into the following week and so on. It's just playing catch up. So it's really, a lot of people don't see that as a problem, though. They just see that
it is a problem, isn't it? Because you're never at a baseline. No. You're constantly withdrawing or off your face, aren't you? Yeah. And you're doing it every weekend, and you perpetuate that. And it takes its toll on your body and on your mental health.
Definitely.
When I argue, everyone, I remember saying, like, for me, it's like people go, well, why don't you just have one? Or they don't now. But that's the sort of thing, the cliches that you might hear early days. I think it's how you hold yourself. People don't talk to me like that anymore. They just sort of, they don't say, like, why aren't you drinking or anything like that. And I say, well, because if someone did ask me why I don't drink, I'd say, well, because it makes me feel, it affects me mentally and physically. It makes me sick. And that's all I really need to say, isn't it?
I saw a clip of David Bowie saying the same. He was asked, why can't you just have one? And he said, what one drink for me would be a kiss of death. He was like, I'm an alcoholic. I can't just have one.
I've heard it compared to peanut allergy. If you had a peanut allergy, you wouldn't just have one peanut. But I go far further than that. I say everyone's allergic to alcohol because there's a reaction.
It's poison at the end of the day.
That's, so everyone has some sort of level of allergy linked with alcohol. It's just that, and like you were saying there, if I've got another drink in me, I probably would be able to have another drink, but I couldn't do this again. I couldn't do the sober part again. I don't think I could do it all again. And if I drank, I wouldn't. I could destroy all this. I would destroy it all. I would self-sabotage and I would destroy everything. I've said this, just put me in a room with a bottle of vodka and a mobile phone and I'll bring everything down that I've built up.
And for what?
Yeah, for what? I mean, like I said, I like freedom. That's what I like. And I went straight back to work when I stopped drinking. And I realised the same thing. Like, what am I doing this for? There's no purpose involved. Like, my purpose is making other people money. It won't do anything for me.
I guess it's that clarity, though, isn't it? You know, because your judgment's no longer clouded, so it's you see clearer, and you think, okay, well, I'm doing all this good stuff for me and my body, so you know, I'm working on myself physically, and obviously now it's time to work on myself mentally. And what do I actually want? And it gives you that
like I said, it's like clarity. You've hit a baseline, and then they're organic thoughts out there. They're not influenced by what you've been doing to yourself. It's an organic thought and an organic emotion.
What I was going to say is it's the belief, I believe, you know, like, and making the choice, like such a massive choice, because whether you've got a problem or not, I mean, if it's costing you more than money, right, I see it might be a problem, you know.
Yeah.
So, but if you choose something like that, like stopping drinking, and because it's such a social thing, it's such a huge change. It's like nothing else. Like, it's not like stopping smoking. It's like you've got to change pretty much everything. And so just that alone, that gives you the power of choice. Do you know what I mean? So then you think, well, I can do that. What else can I do?
I think you're going against the grain with a lot of stuff. So it's like, you know, you're not just conforming to what everyone else expects you to do. So it's a bit like, well, if I can go against that, I can do that. And it's just, give yourself self-belief, because I guess really, you know, it's a big sacrifice. Although to a lot of people socially it seems like a sacrifice, but if you're sober, you're not sacrificing anything. You're actually gaining so much more. But whoever isn't sober doesn't see it that way. They think, oh, what a shame.
Well, they're long-term gains, aren't they? They're like things that are not... when you're in it, when I was in it, the gains are very quick. Whereas in sobriety, it's things like that, you know, like today I've spent all day with my son. You know, all day I've gone and taken him shopping, bought him a load of clothes, just spent all day with him, and that's the gift. Like they're the things that I would lose, if I chose a drink. So there is a sacrifice with everything that we do. Like in every choice that you make, you can't have both. Like you can't have the clear head and the level of clarity and being able to put your mind to things and also be at it as well. So you've got to make a choice. Like so. Well, I did. I had to make a choice. I knew that if I looked at people that were that had what I call sort of sobriety or serenity, and I thought, they've got their life right in order, and they don't seem to be worried about what anyone thinks about them or anything. So, and I thought, I want that. That's what I want. I want that. There's nothing in that for me anymore. And I didn't go back to what I was like when I was 18. I thought at first that's what would happen. Mm-hmm. I'll go back to what I was like when I was 18, you know, like Jack the Lad and all that. And you don't, you create a new life.
I think it's being happy at that sort of level state. You know, you're not necessarily hitting the highs and you know, that you would expect to, but it's just, you're just kind of there, not coasting, but it's just a nice level. And I think most people ask me, what do you miss? And I would say, honestly, it's like the stupidity in a way.
The chaos.
Yeah, it's that. I say you miss that, but at what cost does that come with? And I'm not willing to have a bit of that for the price that you pay for it.
Exactly.
So I'd rather do without.
Yeah, I miss the chaos. I thought I missed the chaos. I tricked my mind into thinking that I missed the chaos. Not so much now, but that was one of the things. But in early days.
Yeah.
But the thing is I never regret. I don't ever regret not drinking. I never wake up in the morning and think, I wish I'd had a drink last night. It would have made everything so much better. Whereas when I was drinking, I had so many regrets. I was living in guilt and shame every day. Do you know what I mean? And it was awful. Like, and so, although there is a sacrifice and there is a romance around drinking, which I still have, it's very fleeting. It comes in and goes out, very minuscule. Like, and it's now there's no sacrifice. It's the obvious choice to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Early days, I was like, never gonna have a drink again. Like, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that thought. Like, I couldn't comprehend it. Whereas now, I'm like, yeah, of course I don't want to have a drink again. You know what I mean, I don't tell anyone that I'm not going to drink again because I don't have to. But for me to drink is like signing my death warrant. You know what I mean? There's nothing in it for me anymore. No. And people go, well, are you sure? Like, because they're in it, and that's fine. I don't care who drinks or not; it don't bother me. But I've seen another life without it, and there's too much in my life now that is important to me and of value that I never had. I never had that when I was in it.
I get you.
So, How long from getting sober did you decide to start sharing your sobriety journey, or was that something you did from the off?
No, so I didn't. I never really had social media or anything. So I guess anyone who knew me to see, let's say they haven't seen me, I don't know, since I left work or whatever, then all of a sudden, poof, here I am on Instagram sharing my story and thinking, what on earth's going on here? Yeah. So
but you look completely different to what you did a few years ago. Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's because I am short as well. To lose 7 stone off a short ass like me, it is a big difference. But I think it's not so much weight as well. I just think it's. I mean, I'm sure you will have felt it or seen it as well. Just your skin, just your aura, just your glow, just everything. I just feel better. And so I would say, to answer your question, probably about just maybe under a year when I started sharing my sobriety story. And I didn't really intend to. Basically, I announced like on LinkedIn it was, because that's kind of like what the world I was used to, the corporate sort of side. And I kind of that's kind of what led me back into, okay, I'm working against, because I started getting into property investment and stuff because it's all I knew. So I thought I could do it more of a leisurely way. So I announced that I was back in a way. I'm like, all right, I've been gone, I'm back. You know, this is what I'm doing, just in case people were sat at home really wondering what I was doing. But anyway, so I sort of announced what I've done, and this is why I've left, kind of left work, and this is what I've been busy doing. And loads of people sort of got in touch with me and said, oh, by the way, I don't know, I think they just wanted a bit of guidance. They'd seen what I'd done with my sobriety, with my weight loss, and they were just asking me questions, and I think they were just
being curious. Yeah,
they were curious, and maybe they were thinking, okay, well, if you can do it, because I knew what you were like, maybe I can potentially do it. So more and more people getting in touch. So I thought, oh, this feels good. I like helping people. So then I would share another nugget of information or share another video on this, and it just kept sort of building traction in a way. And I'm not saying I'm an influencer or anything like that. It's more, it's opened up opportunities where now, when it comes to sobriety in like Hull or low, I mean, it's given me an opportunity to be in front of you today. People are sort of beginning to think, okay, sobriety, Hull, Henry. It's that kind of connection now. And so I would say less than a year, started posting it, getting really good feedback, and it just made me feel good. I really liked helping people, and I'm not a particular expert in it, and I've got a lot to learn, but it's just simplifying it and just saying, look, this is how good it makes me feel. I'm not here to judge anyone else who drinks. That's up to them. But if you want to come on to the fun island without the booze, then come and join me, and I'll show you the way.
Yeah, it's a good message. So obviously that's developed into alcohol.
Yes,
it's called, isn't it? So how did that come about? What gave the idea to do that?
It was basically it was after a failed attempt of running an event. I was planning on doing along with someone else who works in the sort of holistic sort of world. They'd come over from Canada, and I knew him briefly through coaching, etc. And he was like, oh, I want to sort of collaborate with you on running some sober events or something. I was like, oh, great. But the difference, unfortunately, was in Hull, not many people are willing to part with a lot of money. So when you're expecting them to walk through the door, admit they want to be sober, admit they've got a problem, and they want to listen to me do a talk on sobriety and pay £15 for the privilege, especially in January, it was just a lot to ask. So it didn't materialise. I didn't sell any tickets, and it was a bit of a humbling experience for me. But I learned from it. I was like, okay, well, that didn't work. So what do I do from here? So what I wanted to do was showcase local places that offered, during dry January, alcohol-free options. So I would go and, do a little short video on, you don't have to drink to have a good time. You can still help these independent venues during January, because again, a lot of people don't tend to go out because they're recovering from Christmas, or again, it's dry Jan, so they'd rather just not go out at all. So I was going there, showcasing that, and again, that built up traction. So then I thought, okay, well, then more and more people were sort of saying, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could have a sober social, or maybe we can go to these places you visited. So, and I came up with the name Alcohol, just don't know. It was just an idea. And so I thought, okay, well, I can do alcohol sober socials. And I chose one of the places I'd visited. And that went well. We probably got, I don't know, 12, 13 people turn up for my first event. I was pretty chuffed with that. And so we created like a WhatsApp group, and now people like share different things, just keeping everyone in check, really, because some of those people were sober curious. They weren't necessarily sober. But someone was sober for 7 years, and they said it's the first sober social they've been to, or at least had the courage to come to. So that, for me, made me feel really good, because I'm a bit of a newbie to the whole game, really. And so that was really nice. And because there wasn't anything like that really in Hull, I noticed, for me personally, that I didn't see anything. And so I wanted to sort of build this community for people to feel safe and kind of make sobriety cool, and so the next one I've got, I've already booked, there's already 30 people booked on now, and still counting. So it's growing and growing to the point where, such collaborations maybe with yourselves, etc., bringing it over the bridge. I don't know. So I just think if we can keep doing this, spreading this message, and people hopefully have a good time, then it's okay. Well, I think it will just then highlight, and then the word of mouth gets out, and people say, well, actually, I went and had a sober social. I didn't even need to drink. Yeah. The thought of it's so alien to people. So then it's like, okay, well, and then I hope that eventually it comes to the point where we don't need to call it sober social. It's just like-minded people getting together that don't drink, but you don't need to brand it sober. Yeah. Because, again, that term for a lot of people can be a bit scary, because, like, going back to what you were saying, it's that whole I'm never going to drink again, because you've sort of set your stall out as sober. Whereas if you just say, well, I'm not drinking today, I'm not drinking tomorrow.
It's
and you
final, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you just every day you're just not drinking tomorrow, and then you go to sleep and it's another day, and so on. So I think it's easy to put it under the sober umbrella just because it's easy to brand it that way. But if someone turned up and said, "Oh, I had a few drinks the other night, but I'm back and whatever," that's great, because they see it as a problem and they want to make a change. But I'm not there to sort of judge anyone if they were to slip up and have a drink, because we've all got our demons, we've all got our different coping mechanisms. So it's just building that community. I guess that community I didn't really ever see growing up, and that guidance I guess I didn't have as well. So that's what I'm trying to be, that sort of, I guess, spokesperson for someone, just your average Joe who needs a bit of help and guidance, really.
Yeah, for a bit of lived experience.
Yeah,
opening like a window up.
Yeah,
and just showing what it can be.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. It's just like, I guess, again, who knows what will come of it. But it's really just showing, you don't need booze to have a good time. And if you do have it, then that's fine. But this isn't the social we're having.
Well, I think alcohol, what it does, your inhibitions go, don't they?
Yeah.
So when someone gets up and starts dancing on a table, it isn't confident. It's more your inhibitions are gone. So
I'm sad I'll never see you dance, Sam.
I do dance. I could never stop me dancing when I'm drinking.
Oh, that was my pie trick.
I was quite well known for dancing.
What
ridiculous.
What sort of dance?
Break dancing.
I was body popping, honestly. I was proper doing the robot.
I'm probably on video somewhere.
I would cringe. Someone would show me, obviously, they would show me a video and go, "This was you last night." I'm like, don't ever show me that again.
I'll tell you one thing, right? When I stopped drinking, I thought, I'm never going to dance again. I mean, I actually thought that, and I remember going to a wedding, and I was up all night dancing, and I thought, I've made a break. This is another step forward.
Yeah,
it's another step forward in my sobriety. I can go out now and dance all night if I want to, and I don't need to drink. And it's like, and it's about. What I've found, it's about doing the things I used to drink for and doing it with a sober head. It builds that confidence up, and they do things in where there's one thing I've just seen recently where every year they're sober, they get one of the guys and they get them to sing a song in front of everyone, and it removes self, do you know, because you're making a fool of yourself in front of people.
Do you feel you care less about what people think?
Oh, massive, yeah. I think that's what sobriety is.
Yeah.
I think that's what. I think everybody, no one can actually say they don't care about what anyone thinks, because you're on a journey to get better at it. I mean, it's easy for me to go, oh yeah, I don't care what people think of me. I can legitimately say I definitely don't care what people think of me as much as I used to. That's for sure. But I think I'm still working towards. I'm always working, going forwards and trying to get better at it. I don't want to care what people think of me. I think that that's what I was attracted to in sobriety. I'd see people that had done all, that was the thing I was looking at and going, they really don't care what people think.
It's a liberating feeling,
and
though,
it is,
isn't
because then the mask is removed, because I believe that that's what recovery is. I think it's recovering who you are, your true self, your genuine self, underneath all the noise, underneath all the things that you've put, the act that you've put on,
Chaff.
Who are you underneath all that? And are you okay with that person? And that's really it. I mean, I think that that's the ongoing journey that everybody's probably on a little bit. I just think that when because I'm in recovery, it's constantly in the forefront of my mind, them things, I do have principles I live by, and I know I'm flawed. I'm not perfect, but I'm working. I work, and I'm aware, and it always starts in the mirror for me. You know what I mean? If I do something, it's hard. It's hard, and I've got a lot of responsibilities, and that's hard as well. But I try to look, well, I hope I do. I look at myself first, and I go, what's my part? What's my part? Own it. And sometimes I'm right. Like, sometimes I think, oh, well, I've done my part, and there's still problems, but resentment, I think, is more damaging to me than drink. I have to be very aware of the way I think and everything else. I think anybody that's in recovery as such, I mean, I don't want to keep saying I'm in recovery, because it don't.
No, do you know what, though? I think it's, the word in recovery, it's not something I've ever really sort of branded myself, but technically I am. At the end of the day, it's, you're recovering from, whatever relationship you had with alcohol, however big or small.
I mean, I look at it both ways, because I don't want to put myself in like into a sort of labelled thing. Right? Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, you're neurodivergent." They spent like 2 minutes with me, right? And they went, "Well, I know you," and I thought, "Well, yeah, of course I am," but I don't want to go and get diagnosed with it, right? I don't want to keep saying like, "Oh, yeah, I've got clinical depression." Yeah, I've had clinical depression. I've got an anxiety disorder, but I don't want. That doesn't define who I am. Like being the alcoholic, it doesn't define who I am. And being in recovery doesn't completely define who I am. It's just a part of who I am. But then I flip from that to then go in, recovery is the most important thing in my life. And it is. My sobriety is the most important thing in my life, because it is what holds everything together.
And you own it. And I think that's nice. And the fact is, you can speak about it proudly, as can I. I like... One guy who said he was convinced to go sober, we were just chatting. We walked past a pub and we were literally just chatting away. I went to like a fitness boot camp or whatever. He was one of the trainers. And he just, I was like, "Oh, have you ever been in there?" He went, "Yeah." He went, "They do a real good carling." I was like, "That doesn't exist." But then so basically, we were walking down the road, and then he was like, "What about you then?" I went, "No, I don't drink. I'm sober." But he said, what it was the way I said it and the way I owned it, and I said it so proudly. He was like, "You know what, normally there's a stigma around being sober." He was like, "Nah, you just said, yeah, I'm sober." And he just said, you have this big smile on your face. It was like, I want that. And being able to own it and be proud of it and not have that stigma around it.
I think that's right. I think it's how you carry yourself. It's how you carry it. I mean, people do have issues as they start to get sober. You are judged in some way, a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose in anything, you could be... judged in a way.
I think it's because what you said, Sam. You're putting yourself in that bracket, aren't you? You're giving yourself a label that's got a lot of stigma attached to it.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I think it's still okay to go look at this druggie and look at this alky, and I think it's the last thing that political correctness hasn't got hold of. And but I also think it's the ultimate health problem. And I do think that, for me, or the ultimate mental health problem, because it's something you can do something about. And most people that I know that are active, like are in a recovery or in a program as such, they've all got underlying issues, But what they're doing is they're going, well, I need to remove that first, and I might need to exercise, or I might need to lose weight. So what they're doing is they're putting in the action. Right, and that's what I'm thinking. Rather than going, well, yeah, I've got this, and then sitting around and expecting something to happen. That's not.
It's like it's you looking at that pint. You looked at that pint. You said, "You're the problem," and a lot of people probably know it, but they just don't want to admit it. So they'd rather fix everything else around it.
Well, I thought I was depressed. I thought, that's what my problem is. I'm depressed, and I was depressed, but I was taking a depressant every day. So of course I was depressed. And it's that I think that I've believed now in if I'm not feeling right, it's because I'm not eating properly or I'm not exercising. Yeah. Right? It's not because I'm not going to say it's because I've got a mental health problem or because I'm depressed. I know I have.
Yeah.
And I'm quite open about that. But I've got to look at my part. Like, what is it I can do? What can I change about myself? I don't. I remember being on antidepressants and I was depressed at the time. Like, it was a couple of years into my recovery of abstinence, and I dipped. Part of it was choices I made, and it was a tough time because I thought, I'm not drinking, I'm doing everything right, and look, I feel like this, So I took tablets, and then they numbed me out, and then I thought, I went to the doctor. I went, I want to get off these now. Oh no, you can't get off them. You can't. And I thought, I'll show you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I did struggle to get off them because there was like side effects. I was getting like brain zaps, and it was like my head was in a washing machine. So I had to like basically
hardcore stuff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to shave them down to powder, right, and really like wean myself off this. Off these tablets, and since then, thankfully, I've never used anything. Like, I don't use anything
because I guess you're listening to your body, and you know your body now. Because again, having been sober for so long, you can probably understand it a bit more.
I'm more aware of my choices.
Yeah.
Like, I have more awareness because I've got more experience, but more experience on life's terms. Right? So I've made mistakes in sobriety. I made loads of mistakes when I was drinking. But then I've made a lot of mistakes in sobriety. And so, but with the thing when I'm making mistakes in sobriety, I can look at it and go, do you know what? That I went wrong there. I'll change that. Whereas if I was to pick up a drink or a drug or whatever it might be, I would lose that lesson. I would then repeat that. Whereas I think while I'm sober, if I repeat it, it's my own fault.
Can't blame it on it.
Yeah, because I've got a clear head.
Yeah.
And I should be able to see the patterns. Whereas if I'm repeating the same thing over and it's still going wrong, it gives me. I've got nothing. I've got to own it. So yeah, that's what it gives me. It gives me that. And it is difficult because what you said earlier, that middle ground is not something I'm used to. I wasn't used to middle ground. I wasn't used to feeling normal. I was used to extremes, extreme lows and extreme highs. That's what I was used to. So getting to like sort of like middle,
just living in the middle lane.
Middle was like, this don't feel right. So I was partial to self-sabotaging myself because I felt less than, because I felt like less than other people. I had a thing of where I should belong because of all the guilt and shame I was carrying. So I thought, I belong about here somewhere. And every time I put my head over that thing, I was like, oh no, I don't like that, and start to sabotage myself. I didn't know I was doing it.
Bit like imposter syndrome in a way.
Yeah, that's what sprung to mind when you were saying that, imposter syndrome.
I think it's just because I'd had like the life in it, the madness of the life in it, and all the stuff I'd done, and then all the guilt and the shame that you've got to cope with. It takes a long time to shake all that off. You feel like you don't deserve it. It's off now. Like I shake it.
I was going to say, having been sober as long as you have now, you're quite confident. You feel that you do deserve these things.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm definitely not perfect, and I'll make mistakes. But I'm just a far better person than I ever was.
Good.
And
hard not to be. Do you know what I mean? There's no redeeming qualities, is there?
I've learned so much about myself and. Yeah.
Not only that, but you've projected that help now on so many different people as well. You must get so much. I mean, you're a really humble person. I really admire that about you. But you must get some satisfaction knowing that you've had such an impact on so many people's lives. The people I know who you've directly helped, they hold you in such high regard for the help you've given them because you've saved their lives. There's
a flip side to it. So yeah, there is. I mean, I've got a lot of people in Wigan that I got sober with that are still sober now, like years. And one of them I detoxed in my house. And he had really bad OCD problems. And he was like, but he did everything. He used his OCD in his recovery. So he did it all by the book. And I was like maverick. I was like renegade. You know what I mean? I did all my recovery the wrong way. Went back to work, got involved in relationships I shouldn't have done. You know, I was doing it all the hard way. Where he was like, nope, doing it by the book. Like, so, and he's still sober now. And I know that he is. And I can pick the phone up. But he, you know, and I detoxed him in my house because he was going into rehab. He was going to go into rehab, and then what happened was there was a guy coming to one of that I was speaking to, who they were meant to cut down. You know, so when you're an alcoholic, there's a thing of cutting down to amount, but you have alcoholics tell lies. So you had one who was going, "Oh, I'm cutting down," and he was like wrecked. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's dead now. And then Paul, I could see, was actually cutting down, and that's like torture. I thought, how can you cut down? He was like cutting down to like 4 cans a day, and it was torture. And then he was waiting to go into a rehab. So I was like, he phoned me up and he was in tears. He said, I can't get into this rehab, like they've let me down. So I went, are you telling the truth about the 4 cans? And he went, but this is the psychological thing. So it's only 4 cans. Like, he thinks 4 cans. How can you not get off that? But it's such a psychological connection to it. And I went, well, I knew he was telling the truth, so I went, come and stay with me. He ended up staying about 6 months, but he went into rehab to deal with all the other stuff, right? Because there was all other stuff that was going on. So he didn't actually go into rehab to stop drinking. He went in.
You helped him with that.
Yeah, so he'd already had a head start. So he went into rehab.
Yeah.
But back then, he was in rehab for a couple of years. They rehomed him and everything else. It was brilliant. But for each one of Paul, and he won't mind me talking about him, but for one person like Paul, there's then 10 or 20 that haven't made it.
Yeah.
And I've said this, when I went into recovery almost 20 years ago, 80% of the people that were there are dead now. That's the reality, right? And I've lost a lot of people. So, yeah, I do get a lot out of helping people, but I don't have any expectations. Do you know what I mean? I do it without expectations. So I'm always prepared for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone, I have to be. Yeah. So I get close, but also I'm not here to be their friend as well. Do you know what I mean? I can't get too close.
Yeah. You just don't know how someone's going to be, do you?
Yeah, I have to be.
People can change overnight,
it's
can't
good
they?
to know, though, because in the line of work that I'm getting in, it's knowing your boundaries, but also knowing when someone's maybe too far gone, because something I want to sort of focus on is more the middle lane drinkers, if you know what I mean. Like, if someone was coming to me and they were heavy, strong drinkers, swigging, a bottle of vodka, etc. a day, you got to know your strengths, and it's like I can't necessarily help you there, and so it's
know your audience.
Yeah, again, know your strengths, and as much as I want to help people and be their accountability, you're putting pressure on yourself, and I guess it's that the good nature and you just want to help people, but you've got to know your limit.
I think you have to. The thing about helping people is that I think you've got to have a lid on your own stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's one thing. The reason that I'm still doing this today is because I did keep quiet early. It took me a long time to get my confidence, and I sat there listening to everyone. You know what I mean? Like radar, like picking everything up, and then I realised quickly that I weren't going to save everyone. So I've become quite. Some people used to say, "Oh, you got favourites and all that," and I was like, "Oh, they still do, I think." But it's kind of like I can gauge it and go, "This person may be ready." Yeah, I can help them, right?
Is that, if you don't mind me saying, is that maybe because you can see a bit of yourself in them?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, and all the bad.
Yeah.
I guess it's probably an element of that, and from lived experience, I bet you've helped people from all different walks of life at all different stages of that journey, haven't you? So, I guess over time you become accustomed to where they're at, because people live a similar story in addiction, don't they? They all have a similar story in some respects.
Well, people help me, do you know what I mean? And that's how I see it. Like, the people, the strangers help me. I was in a town, I didn't know these people. I knew a cousin, and it helped that he was my cousin, because I thought, at first, he's not going to lie to me. because I thought everyone was just making it up. You do, like, you think, like, is this real? Like, you know, but I knew he weren't going to lie to me. So he was a massive influence on me. It saved my life. Yeah, it took me a long while to realise what I was, to accept it, to accept it, that rather than just admit. I had to sort of lock it in.
I get you.
But yeah, and these people, like there was people that made me. I used to say sorry for everything. Frank, like the guy called Frank, and he was in his 60s, and it was. You think about him back, he's dead now. And he went back drinking, and it killed him. He stopped me saying sorry. Because every time, when I was overcompensating all the time, I'm sorry for everything, sorry for being alive, like sorry, right? And it didn't mean anything, because I was saying it all the time. And he used to say to me, don't be sorry, be happy. Every time I said it, don't be sorry, be happy. And it's in mantras that you pick up. And then every time I then said it, I thought of Frank, be That's happy, nice. Don't be sorry, be happy. And it's people like that. And there was no money exchanged. Do you know what I mean? And it was that thing of, see, I had to get out of that as well. I had to think, if I'm going to carry on doing this, I went years volunteering, and I thought, because I had this thing in my head of like, why would I take money from something that was given to me freely? So that's why I introduced art and all the stuff I'm doing, so I could help people, but do it so that I don't mind taking money in that way, and then helping other people, as opposed, I've never taken any money off somebody that, like another alcoholic in that way, because it was given to me for freely. Strangers help me. It's difficult because I had trust issues, and I was thinking, why are they helping me? Like, why? But I know what I know now. It's two-way. I get as much out of somebody, as much out of them as they do from me. It's two-way.
No, definitely. I completely agree. I mean, if there was a way that I could survive and not have to charge by doing certain bits that I'm doing, but hence reason for the sober socials and whatever, like if you've got the time and you're passionate enough about it, then great. And I think, as I said, what you're creating here is a testament to what you've been through and what you're about, really.
Yeah, I mean, I just see it as like it's a product of everything. I mean, I say this a lot, and I have to repeat myself sometimes when I'm showing people around. But this building and everything that I do is it's a representation of what is possible. What is possible? You've got to give people hope.
Yeah.
If you're not painting a picture of it, like, drinking's good, fun. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Like it was a good laugh. Like, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Until I didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you're gonna show people what recovery is and what sobriety is, you better make it appealing, because you've got some heavy competition. Do you know what I mean? So, and that, when I got sober, it was I didn't want to be I got sober and I thought, what is there for me? Like you said earlier, there was nothing. And I looked around and I thought, is this it? Like, there's nothing about, like, so I'm going to have to create it myself, because what I saw wasn't what I wanted to do. Just because I'd stopped drinking, it didn't mean like I didn't want to do dynamic things. You know what I mean? Why? Surely I should be able to do whatever I want. But it was like a very sort of limited thing of what it was. Whereas now it's opening up more, and there's more options. There's more.
I think there's more avenues to spread the word, spread the message, such as podcasts, such as social media, such as live venues, etc. It's getting that message out there and hoping. And again, the more people see it, and I think health and wellness is a massive trend, if you will. But I think people are investing in themselves more as opposed to materialistic things. So I think now combining that along with everything else, I think sobriety is, in my opinion, from what I can see, but it's a bit like anything. It's once you notice it, you see it once, you notice it a bit more. So now I'm noticing sobriety is like really on the rise, but is that because I'm in it? That's what I was just about to say. Do you feel like there's I personally feel there is a wider cultural shift. Yeah. Particularly amongst younger people towards drinking and substances. I think there is a cultural shift. That might just be because, like you said, I'm kind of involved with it in some way, shape or form. So maybe it's just a bit more prevalent
my algorithm, so to say.
No, I saw a statistic. I think it's the most recent. Is it Gen Z, the most recent generation? Like when you're looking at booze sales, and I mean, let's say the graph is up here for our generation, etc. Gen Z is down there, but that's not saying that they're finding other ways to have fun, maybe with other substances, etc. But when it comes to alcohol, right down there.
It's definitely changed.
Yeah,
I mean, and recovery's changed. I mean, in our generation, we were lunatics. Absolute lunatics. It was all the sort of ladette thing as well. Women drinking,
it's a rave culture as well, wasn't it? And
it was just. I've said it before. Like, I mean, not my environments. All the environments I was in were just. I don't really like going to go over all the war stories or incriminate anyone really, but it was mental. Like, and it was I could take drink at work, and no one even. It was badge of honour.
Yeah.
I was quite good at it. I was very good at it.
One day I'll tell you how good I was on when it'll have no detriment on my job.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right there. That's the thing, innit? With alcohol and whatever else, you have some of the best experiences of your life on them, but you feel like shit afterwards. Do you know what I mean? I wonder what would the world be like if a hangover wasn't a thing. Do you reckon everyone would just be fucked up all the time?
I don't know. I don't. Well, it's that. I think with the way life is, there's always. It's like anything. It's like food, isn't it? It's set up in a way. I mean, that's why cabbage. If you eat cabbage, you think, oh, right, I eat it's healthy, but don't really get much out of it. Whereas if it was set up like cakes, would just make you skinny, wouldn't they? But it don't. And so it's always like, it's them temptations.
Yeah.
You always have to be, if you don't know how to moderate things, you're kind of going to get yourself in trouble, wouldn't you? With anything.
Regardless, even if it's super healthy as well, too much water's not good for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, too many Brussels sprouts, that's not good for you.
Too much podcasting, it's not good for me.
But yeah, the thing I was interested in with yourself was the psychology of food and the connections of food, because for me, I believe that's where it started for me. I think that it was a connection with trauma. I think in my life, because it was a broken family, so my mum wasn't around. And it was, I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of it. I mean, I've got a good relationship with both my parents, but my nan then become like a role model for me. But she used to feed me, and I loved it. But I remember getting them tortilla chips like that for about lunch. You know what I mean? And
I had a grandma called Sweetie Grandma, like little those Haribo things. Like literally, we'd go around there, and I mean, I wouldn't say she was much of a feeder, but again, you go into grandma's, it's a treat. Like, what, can I have sweets?
Yeah.
Grandparents can't moderate.
I think in a way, because they've got a short period with you and they want to make the most of it, it's like they want to spoil you, don't they? And that's the sort of impression I got from it. But for me, the booze thing, I was from a massive family. So there was like seven of us living in a house at once, siblings that is. So for food, and my parents had split up, so you were kind of, in a way, I'm sure they won't mind me saying it, but you were left to your own devices to a certain degree. So you could sneak something in the cupboard, or we'd have like this big chest freezer where you can grab a chalk ice or something like that, and Pop-Tarts in the cupboard. You'd shove them in the back so your siblings couldn't find them, then you'd sneak or whatever. There was all these mechanisms to sort of get what you wanted, I guess. So I would be at my mum's, and with there being so many of us, you just kind of eat what you want, and then it'd be Chinese and whatever, and we were all eating sort of similar sort of portions because it was kind of like school dinner. It's like, bang, there you go, off, there you go. And then go to my dad's, and he would, in effect, he'd be sort of not trying to clean up the mess, but he was quite sort of structured with it, and he was a bit like, you kind of like, I was getting bullied at school, I was fat, and he was a bit like, what can I do? I can't go and beat up these kids, so how can I help my son? Yeah. So, we would go on bike rides, we would go on walks or whatever, we'd try and be active, and we'd even do workouts together as a family, and he would sort of try and, I wouldn't say a structured diet as such, but I mean, bear in mind I was quite young, so, some people look at that and go, oh, maybe that's where your problems with it come from, but he was just trying to do what he thought was best.
Yeah.
And so I do, rather than look at that and go, well, that's why I got the way I got, deep down I was greedy.
Yeah,
I mean?
greedy. And it's that thing. It's interesting you saying that. I find that really interesting because for me, it's like that is the final demon for me. I still have. I think I'm always been a little bit fat in my head, and I fluctuate. My weight fluctuates still, like just before before Christmas, I think I was running, and I was eating right, and my weight dropped a bit, and then it's all gone wrong again. But I do have this thing from like you saying. I don't think I got bullied because I was too much of an arsehole to get bullied, really. But I did get teased.
That was it. I would say bullied was not the right term. There was a couple of just comments. People just say certain things, and what do? You sort of give them a bit of you clock them once, and then that's it. But
it stays with you.
Yeah, definitely. I still remember some of the comments now.
I remember I was at primary school, and there was two girls, and one of them my dad when I'd been a real little kid, she was like my girlfriend, right? And then there was another one I had a crush on. And I was 10 or 8, 9 or 10. And I remember them teasing me. Do you know what I mean? And saying things. And I was like, and it crushes you a little bit, doesn't it?
I remember one of the songs. He's fat, he's round, he bounces on the ground. They'll sing that to him. Again, I think you become quite good at self-deprecating. You shrug it off and go, yeah, well, I know I'm fat, but you're ugly or whatever, as you do as a kid.
Yeah.
But it does hurt. I mean, I remember going up to school dinners, and I don't know if you remember the teachers used to sort of seconds. Anyone want any seconds? I remember going up
thirds,
whatever. I'd go up for seconds. She goes, I think you've had it. And I'm like, oh, nice.
Even the dinner ladies are doing it.
I'm talking about it now, so it actually left a mark.
Yeah.
So, there was all these little things. And, again, that going back to the imposter syndrome, and that I still feel, even though I've lost all this weight, I still feel there's part of me that still feels like the fat kid.
That's what I mean. So I think that you're always kind of fat in your head, a little bit, right?
You're a fat kid gone thin. You're not, but it's a bit like if you look at your sobriety, you were saying you're sober longer than you were drinking in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a new life for you, really. So technically,
replace what you was. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been thin enough for it to sort of become my new identity yet. So until I get 33 years of thinness, this could be my new life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like fat kid gone thin. I fluctuated. I had my yo-yo sort of diet where I was playing rugby. I was in good shape, but deep down, I was a fat kid gone thin. And I still am. So it's like when people see me, it's like, bloody hell, you've wasted away. Which is a nice compliment to get, but it kind of highlights how fat they used to think I was.
I mean, that's some going, isn't it? Losing seven stone.
Yeah.
Jeez, that is some going. But yeah, I went down. See, when I was about sort of 15, 16, I think you used that though, didn't you? I think if I didn't have that, I'd probably be like that. I'd be massive. Because I've always got this thing of come on. I know I'm like a bit overweight now, but there's always that thing of I've never been massively overweight because I just rein it back in because of that psychological thing. So it's actually helped me in a way, I would believe.
I think weight loss and sobriety in a way, do you know what it is? It's discipline.
Yeah.
I think that's really, if I could do it with booze and the sacrifice I made there, I can do it with food. And then, as I said, having gone vegan, that's even more discipline because it kind of, you go to a restaurant and you haven't got much choice, etc. So you just get what you're given in a way. So it's a bit like, I always look at the two the same. You go to, I know you were saying you're not too fussed about your alcohol-free versions, but when I see an alcohol-free beer on tap, just one, I'm buzzing because I don't normally have a choice, where it's a bit like vegan food. You don't normally have a choice. You get what you're given in a way. Well, so it takes the, I guess, the craving out of it.
It's interesting you said that because the alcohol-free beer is... So when I stopped drinking, it's the people you have around you that influence you. And I remember someone saying, well, did you drink non-alcoholic lager when you were drinking? And I thought, no way. And they said, well, why would you drink it now? And then also, why would you drink something that's suggestive? This is personally to me.
Sure, yeah, of course.
That looks like what you want. Do you know what I mean? Like, it even tastes like what you want, but it ain't got what you want in it. Is there a risk involved in that? I thought that early days, they were right. There was a risk involved because it's suggestive. Do you know? So
I can trigger people.
I didn't have it. Now, I remember the same with alcohol in food. So I remember not having it in things that taste of alcohol. So I put that, and what it's done, it's given me more discipline, right? So I remember once I went down and I was with my sister, and I'd been about like 10 years sober, maybe longer, and then she got me a cake, like Christmas cake, and it had some sort of
brandy or
something. And I went, and she got it for me, and she went, "Oh no, like, why have I done that?" And I went, "Oh, don't worry, I'd eat it, don't matter." Like, and in my head, I thought, I could eat that, and it ain't going to make me want to drink. And she went, no, you can't. And she was right, because it's my discipline. It might not make me drink, but it gives me more discipline. And so the thing of not an alcoholic lager, more discipline.
My brother, he's sober as well, and he was one of the reasons, like, he was not my influence. He didn't tell me to go sober or anything, but, you know, I saw kind of what he was getting out of it, and I was like, oh, that looks nice. But he was saying, it's a slippery slope, really. You go from an alcohol-free beer, then you go for, I don't know, 0.5% that is, and then you go for a 2.5. Oh, might as well just have a shandy. Oh, I'll just have a Coke and vodka, but I'll only have that much vodka. And it's so for a lot of people, they worry that once you sort of slip up with 0.5%, then you go for 2.5, low alcohol, then that, and then everyone's got different discipline, everyone's got different triggers. I guess for me, I can take it or leave it. I like the taste. The thing is, I like the taste of beer, and I think they've nailed it with the alcohol-free versions. Yeah. I really do. So, the what beer gave me with regards to, you know, loosening me up or whatever, I'm not craving that. I'm just craving the taste. If it be on a hot day in a beer garden or whatever. I say that loosely. I don't think I've been in a beer garden since I've been sober, but the idea of it sounds great.
I know, it's the romance, isn't it?
Yeah, but I just think it's the romance of it, isn't it? Definitely. Yeah. But I went on like a bike trip with my dad and my brothers. We were biking in the Netherlands, and again, I was having alcohol-free beers, but it was a beautiful hot day, and I was enjoying it just as much as those guys who were boozing or whatever. So I think there's a nice feeling I get from it, but I understand other people's view on it as well. No, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, everybody's different, aren't they?
Yeah,
you know, I remember once somebody I knew was going and buying a load of cream with alcohol in it, and she was trying to stop drinking. She bought all the cream. Like I remember going to Tesco, and there was all the leftover cream from Christmas, and it all brandy flavoured. And there was this lady who was trying to stop drinking. She went up there, she bought all of them. And in her head, like, we went around her house, and she was like that, squirting the cream in her. But in her head, she was a bit crazy. But in her head, she thought, "I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking. I can still do this." It's mad what people do.
Wow.
I mean, it's mad.
You must have seen it.
Man, honestly, like the things that I've seen and done, like people that have, the best hiding place ever. I've never heard anything better, and I've known people like that have kept alcohol in vases, you know, with flowers in, so that when the missus goes out, they run up and drink it. I mean, my cousin did that. But the best one was a guy who had filled his fish tank up with vodka. Yeah, that's the best one ever, right? So
just with a straw.
He filled the fish tank up with vodka.
Please, I mean, with fish in it?
No, he had like plastic. He had like plastic. I think he had like plastic fish in it.
I shouldn't laugh as a vegan. I really shouldn't laugh.
But yeah, he had plastic fish in it, and but I've seen everything. I've seen people. Heard of people, like I've seen people drink on antabuse, for example, like so the antabuse, which is basically stops your liver processing alcohol. Really, that's what it does. So they take the tablet, and if they drink, it makes them sick.
Wow!
And I've seen people drink on that. Like people drink on that. Jeez. You know, and you think, "Gee, are you crazy?" I've seen a lot.
Is that a detox drug, what you was just on about then?
Yeah, so what it does, it's...
Because I had something similar years ago to quit smoking, Champix. I smoked a fag, and psychologically, it fucked me up, and it made me sick. You know what I mean? I was like... I was heavy smoker on the Monday, on these tablets. Come the Wednesday, wake up, have a cig, you're just like...
My missus was begging me to have a fag on that.
Yeah.
She was going, have a fag. You are going mental. You know what I mean? Like, that Champix is awful, isn't it?
Did it mess you sleeping up?
Well,
I had some of the worst dreams I've ever had in my life.
I've never heard of this stuff.
Champix,
well, what it does, it latches onto you. So you have like nicotine receptors, cocaine receptors, you have all these receptors, and it shuts them down. So that when you have a fag, like it's you don't get the same thing, but it sends you absolutely mental. I couldn't do it that way. I stopped smoking the day my son was born. Yeah, like because think sometimes it needs a big thing. You need a big thing to do a big thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, defining moment.
Yeah, and that was it. I went, right, I'm not going to smoke. And that was it. It was the day my son was born. And that was, it was 10 tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, but I'd smoked for 10 years after stopping drinking. Like, I don't know many alcoholics that stop drinking that don't smoke.
To be fair, I stopped the day I stopped drinking. I used to vape all day, every day, but then I used to smoke cigarettes when I drank. And as soon as I stopped drinking, just cut both out. And then again, going back to discipline, it's kind of like that. Okay, well, if I could do it for that, I could do it for this, and if I could do it for that, so it's just sort of looking at going, I could do fucking anything. You know what I mean?
It's really
powerful.
I need
It's
to
a
stop
power choice.
vaping because after I quit smoking on the Champix, I started smoking again. Do you know what I mean? And then I quit over a year now. Quit smoking the ciggies, but I went onto the vape. The NHS gave me a vape, to get me off the cigs, and I'm fucking dreading quitting the vape. It's going to be so hard.
I mean,
at least for the fags,
stressed.
I got to the point with the fags where I was like, my little girl was like, "You stink, Dad." Do you know what I mean? And when your little baby's saying you stink, you think, "Fucking hell." With vape, she's never going to go, "Oh, you smell of cherries."
I know,
disgusting man.
I know. Honestly,
They're all hard. I mean, everything's hard. I mean, I've given up, all sorts of things now. But the cigarettes, I always think if you can get to 31 days, you're kind of almost there. I mean, so you've got to just give yourself a month. Do you know what I mean? Give yourself a month, and then I don't crave smoking at all. Sometimes and I smoked a lot, smoked a hell of a lot, and the only time I crave it is if I'm a little bit stressed, something's quite a lot going on, and I'll go outside and someone's having a fag, and I smell it.
Yeah,
and I get that ease and comfort. I feel that ease and comfort for a bit, but it's really, I don't get it a lot at all. I don't really get cravings. But
I don't miss smoking cigarettes because, I mean, like there's nothing worse than the lift at work when someone comes in after they've had a fag and you're in the lift with them. I just can't wait to get out.
That stale.
That just does not. Yeah, it just. I can't believe I used to. I mean, I never smoked in the house or anything like that. I always went outside, but just can't believe I used to smell like that.
Pick my look like.
Sorry,
have you considered hypnotherapy?
I haven't, mate. To be honest, no. It's one of them things. It took me a long time to get to the point again where I wanted to actually quit smoking, where I felt like I had the mental capacity to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like with me, it's like life's busy. You've got to make time for these changes. Do you know what I mean? For me, anyway.
Or is that just your head putting it off?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe there is an element of that. Maybe there is
on your shoulder.
Maybe there is an element of that.
Yeah,
maybe there is an element of
that. As human beings, we justify. Part of our brain justifies what we're doing. So if I went out, we're sitting here talking about sobriety, but I was one of them people that didn't want people to get sober. Yeah. And if I went back out there drinking, I would soon start justifying that. What was all that recovery stuff about? What was I doing?
About? This is amazing.
I lost myself there, didn't I?
Yeah, give me a Guinness.
I actually did hypnotherapy for my eating. So that's again, I don't know how much of a role it played or whatever, but it was more about portion control, etc. And you get this audio track that you listen to, and so I don't know if it was maybe a bit of a placebo because I was doing everything else. However, something worked. So
I was going to say they hypnotised you.
Yeah,
went,
so
lose 7 stone, and he woke up. Woke up in the morning, and he was off 7 stone.
Back in the room, just kept me locked in a cupboard.
Puts you under, gives you some Ozempic.
Yeah, that's it. Just got loads of holes in me. But yeah, so again, I don't know how much there is in that, but it is. I think it probably helped. So if it's one of those kind of taboo sort of things, but if you were quite serious about looking into it, might be worth a go.
Like I said, it's like with the fags, it got to the point where it was easy. Do you know what I mean? It was like there was no redeeming qualities. And like after I've always kept on top of my fitness and whatnot. Been active. But after I went from cigs to vaping, my fucking health got better exponentially. Everything, skin, everything. Do you know what I mean? But like, I know the vape ain't good for me, but when you're not exhibiting all them problems, it's like...
I'll tell you this now, right? It's probably not a very good advert for stopping smoking, but I actually felt worse after stopping smoking because my eating went up.
Yeah.
Like, without doubt, I put on weight. I put on weight after stopping smoking. I've never really been able to like shift it. Like
because it suppresses your appetite, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so,
I've never,
honestly,
and actually, like, I started to have stomach problems, and I'm not doing very well here, am I?
I thought that was the sugar-free mints.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that today. Like, I've got a load of sugar-free mints. This is the thing about obsession, isn't it? It's like I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And there was some sugar-free mints, and today, right, and I'm just picking them up like that, like handfuls.
It's crunchy.
Like handfuls and eating them, and then I thought, why did I do that? And I come down here earlier, and I could feel my guts were going. I was like, oh no, am I going to get through this safely? But again, it's that's what I'm like.
Yeah,
I'm like it with tablets, and that's why I have to abstain.
Yeah,
my headache's worse than everyone else's. I need 6 tablets. There's that thing in me that wants that just wants more. And I have to just be aware of it all the time.
But the fact is, you talk about it means there is some form of awareness there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that's it. As long as you're aware of yourself.
You're aware of your awareness. Yeah. You're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's useful being aware of your flaws.
Yeah, definitely. No one's perfect, as you said.
And also be taking it when people that's why I like to stay around other people that are honest, because we don't know when we're misbehaving or acting out all the time. Like, we only see it from this point, looking out. So we say like we're at each other's eyes and ears, and sometimes people say, they'll say to me, Sam, come on, do you know what I mean? Have a look at yourself. And I needed that. I needed that. The thing that I still need it. And I do it to other people, and it's difficult telling people the truth, because you're not going to make friends. They're not going to like it. But in all the years of me not drinking, I don't remember things and it sounds bad, but I don't remember my dad saying he was proud of me. Although he is, and he has said it, it's not things like that stick in my mind. It's not people patting me on the back and going, oh, haven't you done well? Haven't you done brilliant? I don't remember any of that. I remember people going, don't you think it's you? Don't you think you're the problem? And telling me the truth. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at the time, but now I think, thank God I had people like that around me.
God, someone called you out your bullshit, yeah.
Because it's that sticks in my head, and it's when I go to do certain things, I have them, I don't have voices in my head, but I have them people that go, basically saying to me, don't do that. You know what's going to happen. And it's hard to take. It is hard to take. No one really likes to hear the truth.
I mean, and that's it. I mean, really, a lot of the time you're just holding, for me personally, when you talk about sobriety and whatever, no one really wants to hear it because you're holding up a mirror, really. You're sort of saying to people, they don't think it's a problem because society's taught them that everything's fine, drink, celebrate, drink. If you're unhappy, drink. Awake, you drink. Funeral, whatever. Drink's the answer to everything. So when you're out there putting the message out about how good not drinking is, they're a bit like, well, hang about. We've been told for years that drink's amazing. And so I think, by putting a mirror up to someone, by not intentionally, you're just living your life. And sometimes people don't necessarily like it. And I look back now and I go, why didn't someone tell me how fat I got? Why didn't someone tell me, when I used to drink to excess and make a tit of myself? Why wasn't someone saying, look, mate.
But maybe they did and you just didn't hear it.
Oh, I didn't want to hear it, and I blocked it out. Definitely,
because I think people did tell me, and I just didn't. I weren't ready to hear it.
And admittedly, I will say, I don't think she'll be watching or listening to this. But my ex, she actually did say we went on holiday once, and I was like, look, I'm on holiday. She didn't like me smoking, but I was like, on holiday, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke. There ain't anything you could do about it. It's my holiday. Leave me to it, sort of thing. And I'd be on the balcony having a few cigarettes. I'd be at the bar by the pool drinking or whatever. And I kind of felt numb. I just felt like nothing was really sort of making me happy or whatever. And she even brought up the fact that she thought I could be depressed. I'm like, what? I'm depressed because I'm having a few cigarettes and a few beers. Are you mad? Like I was so sort of shocked for her to even bring it up.
In denial, yeah.
And I was, and looking back now with this clarity that I've got, I feel bad, because I just shrugged off her feelings the way I did, and it wasn't nice of me. And I think you're not a nice person when your head's not in the right space, and so it would be an opportunity to obviously apologise for that. I guess
we call that making an amends.
Yeah,
So,
in a way.
Yeah,
So-
You just made amends live on air, mate.
But I
Just
think,
give me a name, I'll tag her in it.
We'll track her down.
but yeah, I just think it's that not wanting to hear it. I guess is that knowing deep down you've got a problem. And again, I was unhappy at work and unfortunately unhappy in a relationship, and I guess no fault of hers. It was just not meant to be. And I think booze was, I guess, my coping mechanism.
But then I was listening to what you said earlier, and you said that when you went to see that guy, and he said you haven't got sleep apnea.
Yeah.
This is what the problem is. But at that point, he was probably ready to hear it.
Oh yeah.
But he did, and I think that hypnotherapy and all this. I believe in using everything. Like try it. If it works, brilliant. And then, but I think you have to be ready. I think whatever it's still got. You're still doing it. Yeah, it's still you doing it. Whatever happens, you've still got to get up in the morning and go, right, okay, I'm going to get through today without drinking and without gorging on. In my case, mints.
That's what I meant about about the vaping thing. It's like I'm just not at that point yet. Do you know what I mean? Usually with everything else I've had to overcome, I've got to that point because I've seen it's having a detrimental effect on my physical or mental health or my life. With vaping, it's like other than like a tenner a week or whatever,
because it's better than smoking.
It is a better alternative. Yeah. But there will come a point. But like I said, it's just like. You said it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to quit it, even though I know.
Well, you're going through. You're being
my fitness will be even better.
Contemplative. Like you're going through. You're aware of it, and you want to stop. Right.
Yeah.
I think part of you wants to stop. The other part of you wants to carry on. Right. That means there is a level. That's an addiction. That's how addiction works.
Yeah.
So
mate, I'm an addict, and
because part of you's going. I need to do something about this. And the other part's going, you're right, it's only a vape. It's not like smoking.
For you, it's only sugar-free mint.
Exactly.
And I guess there's an element of fucking hell, Dave, some of the stuff you've fucking found a crutch in. Do you know what I mean? It's only a vape. I think there's an element of that as well. Like,
you could go on. You could go on like that for 50 years. You might, or you can. The thing is, I believe in. I think that you have to have a bit of suffering in order to change. I think you've got to have suffering. But I believe that there's got to be an element of suffering there.
Yeah. I think you need to. For me personally, like with exercising and thing, it's that enforced suffering. Do you know what I mean? I think everyone needs an element of suffering in their life to grow. Not necessarily coming off something, but people who get up, go to work, come home, sit in front of the TV all day. They're living very fulfilling lives. They've not challenged themselves in any way, shape, or form.
I mean,
do you know what I mean?
I mean, looking at sort of you're saying your vices maybe food and whatever, and so because I'm very much I've jumped into fitness, so I've always kind of now I feel like I need goals, so I've done triathlon. I say triathlon, sprint triathlon. It's one of the baby ones, but and then I did a 10K. Then now I've got a half marathon. Then I've got the marathon, etc. So my heart is going out running, and it hurts. So that's kind of me again pushing myself out of my comfort zone and whatever, and because it is quite easy to just sit at home in front. I mean, and I do. That's the beauty of it. I do sit at home on the sofa on a night and binge watch. I don't know, Ted Lasso or whatever with the missus. But because I've already got the hard out the way, I don't feel guilty for it.
Yeah. I did a run the other day, but I was doing all right.
Yeah,
it's amazing. You've got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quick the fitness goes. But then you can pick up your fitness quite quick, even at my age. But you have got to keep doing it. I believe, and you're right. Setting yourself goals is important.
I think so. It's kept me on track because although I've got my running, I'm not as consistent with the gym as I once was. So, and again, little fat me, old fat me is going, come on, we've been here before. So I'm like, right, not happening again. So it's that kind of teaching myself, just to, again, be aware of it and not to fall in it, because I feel, I'm not saying alcohol, there's an empty void there or anything, but I think a lot of people, what they do is they quit and don't fill it with something else. And so therefore I'm filling it with exercise and feeling good and the endorphins you get from that. And
you've fucked up your dopamine receptors, haven't you, when you've been hammering the drink and that. You need to...
You're going to fill it up with something.
Yeah.
You just will.
And that's why people, I think, fail when it comes to dry jam. Because what they'll do is they'll stay in. they'll stay in for the whole of January, and they don't get to really feel the benefits of what you can do with a sober life.
Well, I've got a few things on dry January. Well, you should have, like, if you're going to have dry January, why don't you have no heroin February?
No smack March.
Yeah, it's so different, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
And I could never get through. I think that, for me personally, and this might be a bit controversial, but if you're doing dry January and you're just waiting for the end of January, then it's
punishing yourself in a way.
Well, but also it's significant that you've got a problem. There's might be a little bit of a problem there because
not necessarily. I did dry Jan, but it's not because I've got a problem. It's just like January, but it wasn't like the 3rd of January. Like, fucking hell, I need a drink. It wasn't an issue. It's for me doing it was just like, it's something to do. It's something positive. Do you know what I mean? It's encouraging you.
But if you're sitting there on week 2 thinking,
that's the thing. I don't have that feeling.
because you can. I mean, I don't like using.
He said that's why he went sober. He said he did dry January, and all he could think about was booze, and he was like, "That's when I knew I had a problem." And that's why he's been sober since. So I think it's, and again, if with dry Jan and how it's sort of perceived, if you can't sustain for 30 days, then it is highlighting you've got an issue. I mean,
but you're also convincing yourself that you're okay.
Yeah.
Which is what that thing is, that justification, which is what I believe addiction is. Right? So, because part of your brain, like, as you said, the you saying that fat voice, the justification. So by going, I could do a month. I ain't got a problem. Do you know what I mean? I can go a month without drinking. Straight away, you're justifying it and going, I can go a month. I'm not an alcoholic or whatever. I mean, that word again is a very final word. Doesn't really mean anything as such, but it suggests that you haven't got a problem with it. But then just go without. Do you know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't stop smoking for a month and then go, right, okay, I'm going to have a fag. You wouldn't do it with anything else. So it's just that. I mean, everybody's different. Again, like Dave says, Dave hasn't got a problem with drink, but there will be people that have, and they will be using it as a way of going, well, I did dry January, I ain't got a problem, but maybe I have got.
I'm so glad.
Go without. Just stop.
I'm so glad. I've never enjoyed drinking that much. Really, do you know what I mean? Never really enjoyed the feeling of being pissed. Certainly not enjoyed the feeling of being hungover. I'm so grateful for that because fucking everything else.
It's not a good one to have. I mean, for me, I believe alcohol is the gateway for me for everything else. I know if I started drinking now, I'd be on the fags in no time, and then I'd be on other stuff by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that once I start drinking, I don't care about the consequences of my action. Do you know what I mean? I'm not worried about
all your inhibition's gone.
Yeah, I don't care. Like what's
good. You said something really good to me once. You said if you shut the doors on a house and turned all the lights off and left that house for 50 years, then went back in 50 years later and switched the light on, all the lights are going to light up again. And you, obviously, paraphrasing your analogy, I'm sure you say it a bit slightly different, but that's what you're describing there, isn't it? If you woke up them neural pathways again, you'd be back to square one.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to rewire yourself to a point you fucking just Sam's home.
If I could control it, I would have been. That's how I look at it. If I was in control, I would have been in control back then. So why am I going to try and do it now? Because I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Towards the end, I couldn't drink successfully. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. People know. It's funny because you talk about sobriety and things like that. I think people, I've said it before, they're more impressed with my drinking career than they are with my. I used to do a trip with 3 pints of Guinness in under 20 seconds. And I won a load of money doing that. And people remember that more than the years I've not drank, I think.
Because again,
it'll be one of them.
It's still cool, isn't it, to a lot of people, isn't it? Splitting the G with the Guinness and that sort of craze.
I've told this story before, but I remember I'd stopped drinking and I'd been it'd been a few years. And I had that social anxiety, that social anxiety for a while. When you're around it and you're not drinking, it's quite odd.
You feel a bit boring, don't you?
Well, you just feel it feels strange. It did for a while, and I didn't put myself into that situation too many times. I found that if I did it quite regularly, I'd get anxiety, and it would be delayed anxiety. Like a couple of days later, I'd start feeling all anxious.
Oh, really?
Not at the time. So I avoided doing that. But I remember going to a wedding down south, and there was like a few people there I knew me from, because most people don't know me sober from the past. They remember me being the lunatic drunk, like. And I went down there, and there was a guy, and I used to do this Guinness thing. Man, I remember a guy giving me 50 quid just to see it done. Do you know what I mean? And I started doing it all the time, like this under 20 seconds, the 3 pints. And I got a reputation for doing it. And this guy, he hadn't seen me for because I went overseas for a long time. So I hadn't done it I was very, very young, like 19, 20 when I used to do it. And so he hadn't seen me for maybe 15 years, right? And I've been at this wedding, and I come out, and he's like sitting there, standing there having a fag, and he's this fella. I didn't even recognise him, but he's opened his pint and he's wrecked, and I've gone out, and he's gone, "It's you. You're the Guinness man." Like that, right? He went, "You're a legend." Like that, right? So I went up to him. He probably thought, "What the hell was that?" I went up to him. I went, "Yeah," I've not had a drink for 5 years. I went, "But you're right, I am a legend." Like that.
Yeah, I'll take that. Little win.
He walked off, he was like looking at me like that and going into the distance. So I thought, geez, that's it. And it made me realise that, I mean, not him personally, but how I'd done all this stuff and got sober and everything else. And he just remembered me like it was yesterday as the person doing the Guinness.
Yeah.
And it just made me think, well, his life hasn't really moved on. Like, and mine kind of has. I don't mean it like that, because when he was sober, he'd probably be a different person. But yeah, it did make me think, geez, like, you know,
you're going to get a blue plaque outside here for that.
Yeah, he was like, it was like it happened yesterday to him.
Yeah. And your life, well, again, you've sort of reborn it to a certain degree. You know what I mean? You've had this sort of new life, whereas he's still living the same.
Yeah. Just I just do 3 pints of milkshake now.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're making me really curious about this 3 pint of Guinness trick.
Let's get the Guinness here.
I've hung up my guns. I've hung up my Guinness.
You get 3 pints of coffee.
I can't come out of retirement, even though many people would like me to. I think, and that's the thing, that how it's encouraged alcohol. You know, people will go. There'll be videos online, and someone's done like some ridiculous amount of drinking, like drunk a bottle of whiskey, and everyone's going legend, and I'm thinking that could kill him, but no one cares about that. And that's the thing I found, that I think people always want that person who goes a little bit further. You know, like they always want somebody that's going to do the stupid stuff.
I mean, my wife, we went to like this rugby social or whatever, and I was a different animal when I drank, and my wife hadn't really seen me around these people. And there was, with like rugby, I always found it to be like lads drinking beers out of boots and whatever. It was just like everyone was just trying this bravado, trying to like do all it. Anyway, there was this bin, literally just like a council bin or whatever. And I was battered anyway. I just ran and jumped in this bin, like legs dangling out, and then I came out covered in beer, and like she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, I got egged on by my mate to do it. She went, "Doesn't mean you have to do it. Who are you trying to impress?"
Grow up.
And yeah, basically, and she was like, "Who are you trying to impress? Like, what are you actually doing?" And then it was like, "You're right. Like, why am I trying to impress these people that I don't see anymore?" Like, and that was the problem. I was such a people pleaser. I felt like I was the joker, that person that they needed. They were expecting me to do these daft things, but I would have to drink to a certain level to be willing to do that. Sober me wouldn't consider doing that, so I'd have to get blattered, then do it, because that's what I thought they wanted me to be.
It was kind of your way of. I always felt like I was always on the periphery of stuff. You know, I was never conform. I was never, even in recovery, don't conform. Do you know what I mean? I don't. I kind of like, I might go to an AA meet or go to whatever, but I don't. I tend to do like a mixture of things. It's like when someone asks me what music I like, I go, "Well, I listen to anything." Do you know what I mean? So I don't. When I was at school, I would never get into like. I would go to one little gap, and I thought, "Oh no, I'll go over here." So I was always
in betweener.
I was there. I was always sort of on the periphery. But then I've got kind of like looking back on it. It's probably I never really felt like I fitted in. But the drinking, like when I was drinking, it kind of gave me that thing of like, well, I can drink like 10 men. Do you know what I mean? And I'll be the last one going home. And I knew that I was good at it. I had like, and that sounds crazy, but it was like I had a real capacity to be able to drink alcohol from a very young age, and it was a way of like
that's celebrated though, isn't it? When you're young, like when you're becoming,
I could drink you under the table.
But what a ridiculous, but what a ridiculous,
when you're becoming of
like
age,
some macho shit.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like when actually it's far more brave and tougher what I've done in recovery, like to stop and go actually,
but less celebrated, I guess, to a lot of people.
Yeah, like it's easy to go and get a bottle of this and a bottle of that and go, oh, look at me. Stopping drinking's really hard. Like it's like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Like,
but people don't want to admit that it's a good thing that you've done a lot of times. Some people, of course, in the right environments are going to, applaud you for it. But some people aren't going to go, mate, that's amazing you've gone sober, because it's just highlighting what they haven't done.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, again, like what you said earlier, I'm not bothered about people drinking. I don't care. I'm not it's not a temperance movement.
You know, what you've done has helped you.
Yeah, and but I also was that person. That's the thing. I was also that person who was going, stopping drinking. What's up with you? Have a drink. I mean, I've done that. I've got people that, looking back, there's been people that have gone into recovery that weren't well, that I've got back on the piss.
Oh, but it's like, don't leave your car. Come on, don't drive. I've been exactly the same person, and because I felt like, what's the point in you coming if you're not drinking?
Yeah, I mean, I feel quite bad for that one, because they now looking back, I didn't know anything about it.
But you were a different person.
I was a different person, but I didn't. I remember, and there was a friend of mine, and he actually got sectioned. And this is the sort of person I was, and I went to see him, and I actually remember saying and looking back on it now, he got sectioned because of drinking. That was why, really, looking back on it. But I remember going to the nurse in there. All he needs is to be with his mates. You don't need to be in here all drugged up. They need to be out with me drinking.
That's because you need a drinking buddy.
That is what I thought. That was where my head was.
Yeah.
Back then, I thought that is what I legitimately thought that was what he needed. He didn't need to be in that hospital. He needed to be out.
But that was drunk you that thought that.
Of course, yeah. It was insane me. It was because I was. Yeah. You know, looking back, and I was insane. My thought process was all over the place. Yeah, but thankfully not today. Just the mints, like.
Yeah, we're going to have a word about that after this, Sam. It's getting out of control, man. You need to fucking rein their mints in, honestly. You're going to have an intervention. Well, lads, I think we could do this all night, couldn't we?
Yeah. Well,
I'm mindful of the time. And who's to say we can't do it again at some point? Hopefully this won't be the last time we meet, mate. We'll get a chat about about doing something together over your way. But before we close out, is there anything you want to touch on before we go, Henry?
No, I mean, really, it's as far as I feel like we've covered a lot of things, and gone back and forth with regards to sobriety, etc. So no, there's nothing necessarily. I will be doing more sober socials, etc. Maybe again depending on the audience, but most likely the other side of the bridge in Hull and surrounding areas. But I'm just trying to build a community. So if anyone is listening and would be interested in, if they're curious or at least considering it, then just to get in touch, follow my page, which I'm sure will be tagged. But yeah, I just want to create a community where sobriety, or at least being curious about it, is it's seen as okay and normal, and hopefully. With regard to music and what you guys are doing, I would love, to combine the two like you guys are doing as well. So I think it's just the start of something hopefully exciting. So yeah, just watch the space, I guess.
Sam, anything from yourself?
Brilliant. I will support you as well, whatever we can do to support you.
Brilliant. Always, definitely.
You're part of the sober club now. That's how I see it. But No, we just anything we can do to support you. I mean, it's great what you're doing over there.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Cheers, mate.
I hope I didn't talk too much.
No.
Well, I was going to say, but no, mate. No, it's always great to have you on. It's always great to have you on.
I could talk about stuff.
Well, I think that's the beauty of it is we're both so passionate about it, and I guess you've got years, as far as what you can talk about, stories, etc. As I said, this is still new to me, but I guess with it being exciting, it is exciting. So therefore, there's a big buzz around it. Whereas you're like, been there, done that in a way, and it's become the norm.
Yeah, I'm still get excited about it now and then. It still excites me.
It's just
I still think there's a lot of work to be done.
I think in a way, though, I'm just looking at what you've been able to create over here and aspiring to be, to be able to create something similar. If it be in a venue of some sort, just general wellness and actually just creating the communities, what I'm aspiring to do.
That's all we want to do. I just want people to do what I've done, but with their own little twist on it. And then just go, look, you can do whatever you want to do, And I had good people around me telling me that, not just the stopping the drinking or whatever. They said to me I could do whatever I wanted. It made me believe that I could do whatever I wanted. So I try and do that to other people, and you can. But you've got to. I think that for me, I took my time with it. I didn't rush into anything. It wasn't. I didn't always have everything that is here now. It was a struggle. It was a struggle, and there's sacrifice, and it's hard work, and it takes time, but it's worth it.
I think that's for anyone listening as well to hear that it's not going to be all plain sailing. At the end of the day, if you do make that decision, there's going to be some bumps in the road. But if you're looking at long term, again, from yourself speaking from experience, if you're saying it's worth it, then happy days.
Oh, it's definitely worth it. You got to dig deep sometimes, and that's okay as well. Everything passes, even the bad day. The bad days pass, the good days pass. But the thing that I found about not drinking is that I was always a success at that. Yeah. Even when I felt really low while I was doing it, I always thought that was the thing that was holding me. I was thinking, well, at least I'm successful at that.
That's good. That's a really nice thing, actually.
So, and every day, if you think like that, you know that every day you're a success.
Every day you're always a winner.
Yeah, you are. It's true. That has pulled me through some really dark times.
Honestly, I will use that if you don't mind.
You can have that one on me.
Trademarked. Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks again, listeners. If you've liked what you've heard today, hit like and subscribe.